Would you someday like to coach the U.S. men's or women's national team?
Yeah, I would. That's a long ways down the road, but I really do enjoy coaching.
Hello, Sunshine. I'm Alexi Lalas, and welcome to the State of the Union podcast. We look at the beautiful game on and off the field through the lens of red, white, and blue-colored glasses. This show, well, it's a very special show. We welcome in U.S. soccer legend, our friend, our colleague, Landon Donovan, and the new interim coach for the NWSL's San Diego Wave. So we welcome Landon in, but first, joining me as always, my friend, my colleague, my guiding light, David Mosse, a soccer savant and a Fox soccer researcher and writer extraordinaire. Mosse, how are you doing on this Labor Day?
I am doing very well. Happy to be here and wishing everybody out there a happy Labor Day.
Yes, we are recording this, and I am still on the road. I continue on my cross-country trip with my son that we've been telling you about. Everything is going smoothly on the road and off the field, and off the road. I'm having a wonderful, wonderful time. Mosse, have you watched anything you want to let the folks know about?
Yes, you might recall I mentioned recently that when my parents came to visit, I took them to the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. They had a Casablanca exhibit and a Godfather exhibit. So I have since made a point of watching Casablanca and Godfather Part 1 and Godfather Part 2. It sent me down those rabbit holes.
Wait a second. Had you never seen Casablanca?
I had seen all those movies, but not in a very long time. So this sort of gave me the impetus to go back and watch them again because I think you'll agree that's three of the top five greatest movies of all time.
Oh my God. Okay, I mentioned that I'm driving cross country. One of the things that we are doing is listening to Audible books on tape. So the only thing I have for you here is we're in the middle of um, a book called Unbroken, and this is for my son on his reading list, and it's this insane, incredible story, and it's about this long distance or this incredible Olympian who then went into World War II, and just an incredible story of survival and resilience and redemption. And we're just glued to this story. So I can't recommend it highly enough. We're not even done, and it's just this insane story. So that's all I have to offer. Mosse, should we light this candle, my friend?
Let's do it.
All right, there he is, the great Landon Donovan, U.S. soccer legend, our friend, our colleague, and the new interim head coach for the San Diego Wave. Thank you, Landon, for joining us. All right, my friend. Early days, but how's it going down there with the Wave?
It's been interesting. It's been enjoyable, but a lot of work to do. So I think anytime you come into a new situation, it probably means things haven't been going well. Probably means there's issues that need to be resolved. So it's been in some ways challenging, but also very, very rewarding. And I'm really enjoying it so far.
So when you say issues, like what are some issues that you're having to deal with there? I mean, is this
Yeah.
a situation where you're going to change players or change philosophy or implement, I don't know, no Coke in the locker room or something like that? What's the deal? What are you going to do?
Well, there's a lot of things that I'm just evaluating, right? So for the first few weeks, you're trying to kind of build the plane as you fly it, and you're trying to figure out where the challenges are. The starting point is really good group of human beings here in the locker room. They care a lot. I think they've kind of lost their way a little bit, and so instilling belief in people again, helping change some processes and some of the structures so that there's more stability. I think there's been a lack of real leadership in the last couple months as they've gone through this sort of interim period with coaches. And so just trying to shore that up a little bit so people feel stable so they can express themselves and play better. And ultimately that's what we're all paid to do, is to perform on the field. So that's what we're trying to do.
All right, before I bring Mosse in, I can't let you get away with that. I mean, because these, these vague type of things that we hear coaches talk about. So, how does that manifest? You say, oh, a
What
lack
do you
of
want to know?
leadership. Well, okay, so a lack of leadership. Give me an example of something that either you're doing to show that leadership that was missing, or you want one of your players, or are making one of your
No,
players
here,
do to show.
no, this is what I mean. So when the previous coach Casey was let go, they brought in Paul Buckle to sort of fill the gap during this time. Paul very clearly said, I only have so many weeks that I can do this before I need to be back home and taking care of my family. This isn't what Paul does, on a day-to-day basis, and he was never going to stay throughout the year. So, because of that, there's been a lot of things sort of influx and people waiting for clarity on things, clarity on roles on the field, where
Mhm.
they stand on the depth chart, who owns what, who's running training, who's taking control of training, who's handling the physical output, what's the interaction with the medical staff. All of those things have kind of been amorphous and just floating. So just bringing some clarity around that, I think, has helped stabilize things a little bit. I have a very clear way I like to do all those things. I'm also, though, listening to what's been done in the past, because if a new coach come in and just they've had Skittles in the locker room for 6 years, and you take the Skittles away, they're going to go crazy. Right? So
Yep.
they don't have Skittles here, by the way, just to clarify. So you're trying to implement some small changes while also not uprooting everything that's gone on, because there are a lot of positives too. So just trying to bring some structure and stability to all of those things so they know there's a clear direction. Whether it's good, bad, or the other, we're going to find out over time. Clear direction, clear leadership, and then people can better understand where they fit into all of that. And I think that's been lacking for a little bit.
Landon, we often debate whether somebody who's been coaching women's soccer can transition to the men's side. We don't talk about the transition as much the other way, but as somebody who's been involved in the men's game your whole life, what kind of an adjustment has it been now coaching women?
Way easier. Um, and in a lot of ways, way more enjoyable. As Lex, the male ego is an evil thing. It's powerful in locker rooms, and it's hard to manage and deal with at times. So far, my experience here has been all the women are eager to learn. They listen. They very literally do what you ask them to do, and they're just they learn faster and they're smarter than men that I've been around my whole career. So in that way, as a coach, it's way easier, and so far it's been really, really enjoyable.
This is a situation where you are an interim coach. Is this something, because when this happened, a lot of people not just talked about it, but even some people kind of bristled at the notion that you are using this as a stepping stone. And you look, and I know that that's kind of used as a pejorative, but every coach uses the opportunity to step to hopefully something bigger and better. When you look at this, is this a situation where you're just dipping your foot in here? And if you're not 100% committed, is that a problem for the
Mhm.
job that you have to do?
Yeah, it's a fair question. So first of all, every job is an interim job,
Mm-hmm.
right? You could be fired tomorrow, you could be fired in 10 years, you could leave tomorrow, you could leave in 10 years. So I don't even think about the interim title. I think it helps people sort of wrap their mind around what this is. But for me, it doesn't matter whether I'm here 3 days or 3 years or 30 years. I'm everything I do, Lex, I'm all in. So I spent time, lots of time, processing all of this, thinking about it, talking to my wife, talking to my family, even speaking to my kids about what that means for us and how much I'm home. And I told Jill, I'm not going to commit to this until I know I'm all in. And once I am all in, all in, all in. That's the way I do everything in my life. So I took time getting there. And when I did, I told Jill, I'm all in. Now, whether that lasts these 3 months or beyond that, we still don't know. Let's see how it goes. So far, I am loving it. So if you had to, put a gun to my head today, I'd say I would lean towards wanting to continue doing this. Whether they want me or not is a different story, right? And that's not something I control. So I am all in. The players know I'm all in. If you ask any one of them, they know that I am fully committed and all into it. So I don't know where it goes. As far as people asking, is this a stepping stone? I've had, Loyal was, quote, a stepping stone. And I had the ability to coach in MLS 4 different times and turned it down because it wasn't the right fit. So I do what I love to do. I do what I'm passionate about. I work with people I like to work with. I don't need to do this. I'm very fortunate. So I choose to do it. And I'm going to do it where I want with the people I want. And right now there's nowhere better for me to be than right here.
Landon, I ask this question because it'll help us transition to our next topic. Would you someday like to coach the U.S. men's or women's national team?
Yeah, I would. That's a long ways down the road, but I really do enjoy coaching. The challenge with coaching is you're hired to be fired and you have to move, every year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And right now in my life, I don't want to do that to my family. So if that opportunity comes, I would very much be open to it. If a different opportunity came at some point in a few years down the road and I'm in a different place with my family life, also something I would consider. But right now, I'm happy to be here. Wave is right in my backyard. It's a community that I love and I love representing. And so it's a perfect fit for me right now.
Well, I mean, not that anybody listens to me, but if the U.S. Soccer Federation was putting together a list of people to interview, as they did over the last couple of months, I would absolutely have your name on it for what you have done from a coaching perspective, which I know relative to others is limited, but also who you are, what you have done from a playing perspective, and just the quality that I think you bring. And at the very least, sitting down and hearing you talk about the job, I think would be beneficial, whether you got the job or not. But I recognize that there's other things. And you still have a long way to go, and I wish you luck. All right, listen. When it comes to the United States Soccer Federation, they have evidently hired Mauricio Pochettino. Thoughts on this hire when it comes to the national team and this last cycle that ultimately didn't end well for the team on the field with a incredible failure in Copa America and off the field from Greg Berhalter getting fired. Are you buoyed? Are you happy? Are you excited about the prospect of Pochettino coming in and leading this team in less than 2 years to the World Cup in 2026?
I'll answer in a minute, but I do have a genuine question. This is going to sound stupid, but
Sure.
is that confirmed yet? Has
No,
that
it's not
on
confirmed
social
yet.
media? So I don't. Okay, it's
It's not
not
confirmed
confirmed.
yet, but
I
I'm,
keep reading,
we're doing it as if it's confirmed.
okay, I keep reading articles like, what does this mean for the national? And I keep thinking, wait, is this confirmed or is this not confirmed? Okay, let's assume for the sake of the question that it is confirmed. I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. We have seen over the last decade plus that a big name, and I have seen it in my club career and national team career, a big name means nothing. So I believe my personal opinion is Pochettino is much more than just a big name, and I think he's a very good manager. But we just don't know how that's all going to gel together. There are great managers who into situations and have very little success for lots of different reasons. There are not great managers who go into a situation and have tremendous success. And even though maybe sometimes it's short lived, they do have tremendous success, and there's all sorts of reasons for that. So at this point, I don't really care which way it goes. I just want us to be successful because this is the biggest opportunity in the men's national team history for us to showcase ourselves. And it's a really big opportunity to gain literally tens and tens of millions of new fans and players. So it's a huge opportunity.
Landon, the last time the U.S. hired a foreign coach, it was Jurgen Klinsmann. We know how that went for you. We don't have to rehash all that. But talk to me about this dynamic of an outsider coming in who's not steeped in American soccer culture. How do you foresee that dynamic with the U.S. player?
It's definitely challenging. It doesn't mean it can't work. Bora was here, Lex, as you know. There's other examples around the world of foreign coaches going into situations and doing a good job. But it's incumbent upon the manager, the coach, to really learn about the players, the culture, the country, and really ingrain themselves in all of that, and and integrate in a really meaningful way, and then you get buy-in from the players really quickly. So from everything I know and have heard of Pochettino, he's going to excel massively in that way. But that is a big piece of it. You need to, just like, when a player goes to a foreign country, immediately learning the language, learning the culture, fitting in that way is a big, big plus, and it goes a long way to your teammates and your coaches when you try to do that. And I think it's no different the other way around.
Landon, you talked a little bit about with San Diego now coming in and sussing things out and trying to do it as quickly as you possibly can. If, as I had proposed, the U.S. Soccer Federation had interviewed you for the job. Again, it's from the outside, but everybody's from the outside until you're actually on the inside. What are some of the things that you have seen from the outside that you would have pointed to and said, this is problematic, this needs to be fixed, this is good, this is going forward, either names or maybe bigger types of things?
From U.S. Soccer's perspective?
No, from your perspective, when you are looking at this U.S. men's national team that Pochettino is coming into, what are some of the things that you see that, hey, this needs to change in order for them to be successful?
Well, I'm always hesitant to give an opinion when I don't have the context of being inside, because being inside is way different than anything other people see from the outside.
But you wouldn't have the context if you were being interviewed, just like any coach either, right?
Sure.
Everybody's on the outside till you're on the inside.
I'm going to give you the big picture issue with U.S. soccer on the men's side, because that's what I know the most about. Our biggest issue is not with the national teams or the senior national team or MLS. It's with youth development. That's where the problem is. So if I was at the Euros, right? And some of those squads, France, England, Spain, Netherlands, I'm looking at those squads and I couldn't help but think, how many players from our squad would get into those squads and make that roster for the Euros? And if I was being really honest, there's not a ton, not a ton. And so the challenge is are we developing enough players of that quality where we have super, super highly difficult decisions to make on the roster because we have so many good players? All those squads left really good players at home, really good players, like world-class players. And we don't have that problem yet. And so we need to develop players of that quality all over the field if we want a real chance of competing for a World Cup. And that's the big picture. I mean, that doesn't help for 2 years from now, but that's the big picture. That's the only way to solve it.
But is that a logical progression, or is this something that we've dropped the ball with? Because we've been around for decades.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to hear your view. It was progressing, I think, quite well, but I've also spent a lot of time now. Look, my kids are in youth soccer, and I see the youth soccer environment. It's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. And the kids they are developing because they're spending time with a ball and doing things, but not nearly at the rate they could be. And it's wasteful. It's really wasteful. There are some very talented young athletes and players, and they get better, but not the way other players in other countries are getting better. So,
but whose fault is that disaster?
It's a cultural problem in America. One thing, look, we're getting very theoretical here, but this is my opinion. One thing that's amazing about America is we want to win everything and be the best at everything. The problem is that trickles down to 6-year-old soccer games, right? And the emphasis for a 6-year-old should be on getting better, not winning soccer games. And I have, there's coaches that I hear say, this coach we're coaching against next week is my arch nemesis. We have to win this game. And he's coaching 7-year-olds. And I'm thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? That's not what it's about. Or this tournament is really important to our club. We have to win. So of the 10 players, 5 of you might not play as much because we have to win this tournament at 7 years old. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The incentive structure is totally backwards. And we will never compete at that level unless we get that part right.
Landon, I was going to ask you about your time at the Euros, and you did a great job, by the way, for us all summer.
Amen,
but
yep.
I was going to ask how sobering it was to watch these teams like France and Spain and England up close, and how that affected your view of how far the U.S. is. I mean, there is a type of U.S. fan out there that thinks 2026 at home with this generation of players, a coach like Pochettino, the U.S. can actually aspire to win the World Cup. Do you buy that, or do you think that's a complete stretch?
Well, it's not a stretch to say, do we have good enough players right now to go on a magical run through 7 games and win? That's not a stretch. We've played some of the best teams in the world and it can beat some of the best teams in the world. But I don't look at it every 4 years, can we win the World Cup? I look at it every 4 years, are we one of the teams that is competing realistically to win the World Cup? So this France team, you might say, oh, they're a little bit off for that reason or that reason. Spain, a little bit off for that. But every time you go into a tournament, you go, oh, they could definitely win. And we don't look at our team that way yet. Could we go on a magical historical run? Yes, I think we could. We do have that much quality, but we're not consistently competing at the top end like these other countries. I mean, we didn't get out of a group in Copa America, right? That consisted of Bolivia and Panama. So we're not in that echelon yet. And back to what I was saying is we just aren't developing enough of the high level Westons, Christians, Tyler Adams, super high level players to compete at that level yet.
Landon, before we let you go, everybody that comes on the State of the Union, I ask this question, and sometimes multiple times when they come back. This is two-part question. Number one, and it's more detailed. Which players specifically do you think will benefit from, if it is Pochettino coming in, either that they were good players and they'll be even better players, or they were kind of peripheral players and will become good players under him? And then I'll ask you my final question.
You're gonna be mad, but I can't say I know enough about him specifically and how he interacts with players, because there's the technical, tactical team side that he might help, but I don't know individually. He might connect with someone that we never anticipated. You know, there could be a player that we never thought, maybe Serginho Dest, he, for whatever reason, just really, really connects with personally. He's able to motivate him, inspire him in a new way. And Serginho has enough quality and talent to just go through the roof. So it's hard to know that without knowing how he interacts with individuals personally.
All right. This is a question that I ask everybody on the State of the Union that comes on as a guest. The best thing and the worst thing about American soccer.
Okay, well, the worst thing you just heard is the youth development. That by a million miles is where we are still way, way behind. The best thing is our spirit. Um, Call us foolish, but we think we're going to win every game. We think we should win every game. As players, fans, coaches, etc., we expect that, and that's sort of the American dream. Anything is possible, and I love that about us. And as you know, Lex, for many, many years, we've competed with teams we had no business competing with because of that spirit, and it's what I love about Americans.
I love it. Landon Donovan, our friend and our colleague, and I echo Mosse's sentiments when he talked about how good you are and certainly how good you have become. And we saw it on display this summer. And while I know you have your aspirations when it comes to the coaching situations, we don't want to lose you when it comes to the TV, because you are that good. You were that good on the field, and you're proving that good off the field. I wish you all the luck in the world when it comes to this new coaching gig, the interim coach down there for the San Diego Wave. Looking forward to seeing you. You got a lot of work to do. They're out of the playoffs right now, but you can bring them back in. And I'm looking forward to the future when it comes to you as a coach and, as I said, on television. So best of luck, my friend. Thank you for coming on behalf of David Mosse, myself. Go forth, my friend. Have a wonderful, wonderful time, and good luck and all the best on and off the field for everything that you're doing. A true American, an American soccer legend, a true American legend, Landon Donovan.
I appreciate it, Lex. Mosse, thank you. Good to see you guys. Have a great week.
All right. Again, thank you to Landon Donovan for coming on. Some really, really interesting stuff when it comes to not only his new gig with the San Diego Wave, but also this possibility of Pochettino and the way he thinks about not just the U.S. men's national team, but the way he thinks about American soccer. A lot to bite into there. Mosse, anything stand out for you?
Well, the fact that he does hope someday to be the U.S. National team coach, that was a bit of a bombshell he dropped. I suspect we'll make some news with that.
It's logical. Like I said before, he should have been interviewed. I thought for this time around, and who knows, maybe he made it very clear that this was not at this moment something that he wanted to do. But it's going to be fun, and I love talking to him not just about soccer but about life. He is a unique character. He is a unique personality. You know, he's got his own drummer, and I love that about him. And it's amazing to see his trajectory when it comes to the world of soccer from just a legend on the field to, I think, well on his way to achieving certainly some legendary status when it comes off the field. And as I said, and you said, does great work when it comes to television. And we're very lucky to have him at Fox. And we're very lucky to have all of you for everything that you do, and the downloading and the reviewing and the subscribing, coming to you here on Labor Day. We'll continue to crank out the content out there, and whether it's over there on YouTube when you're smashing the button two-handed, boom, 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 or Spotify or X or any of the other platforms that we have out there, we really, really appreciate it. And we're really thankful that we are able to do this, and so many people either are with us now or have come to us recently, and hopefully are coming to us in the future. Anything before we go, Mosse?
That's it.
All right, we'll talk to you again next time here on the State of the Union. Until then, and as always, my friends, size the day.